going on YouTube? It's your boy Dale back again with another reaction. Don't mind this. I'm like an inch away from taking a number 2 guard and just being done with all this mess. But the crows are out and bad hair do not care. So let's get to it. Now, we are going to react to Anna and Joel. These are some people that I met a long time ago. And when I first saw this piece, I mean, geez Louise, probably back in 2004 or 5, around then, you know, like, I remember being just really taken aback. And don't get me wrong, Joel's real smooth, but like, I was like glued to Anna. I was like, oh my God, who the hell's that? With those arms and that back movement and all that stuff, you know? And I just remember it was a very fun time. I happened to have seen it in Tokyo, of all places. I was there for my birthday with my boy Sekou. And I just experienced it. It was like kind of an intimate setting. It was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, my memory could be a little dodgy about that, but I remember it being like at a nightclub, which is like the pre-party. So it was a little bit more intimate. You were kind of closer, more akin to like, you know, a social would be now. But just, man, I loved it. And it was musical and different, you know what I mean? So we just got to give it up. Now, of course, this is probably like what, at least 12 years, 13 years old at this point. So for those of you who've never seen this before, it might be like, what's the big deal? Like, just remember that everything is to be taken in context, right? So all the stuff that you love seeing now, the things that you think are being creative, they're inspired by things that have happened already, right? It's like a stair step, we keep building. So for that reason, I'm going to react to this, give them some much needed love, much deserved love, rather, not needed. I mean, I can't speak. Much deserved love from me to them, because they've always been nothing but super cool to me. I remember one time we performed in Boston and they were just super warm and welcoming, just like all the people in Boston, like the brothers, Johnny and Andres, as well as Ache Machete. You might know Burju Shoes, like the woman who started Burju Shoes, Burju. I just remember them all being really cool, not only to us, but also even to each other, which I thought was really refreshing. Since we have, you know, it's different here. That's all I'll say. So I'll leave it at that. At least it was. It seems to be getting way better nowadays, but it was different back then, and it was a lot more cliquey. So I enjoyed seeing that, and I definitely feel nowadays that it's definitely different and better here. But that's beside the point. Maybe I'll talk about that later. For right now, we're going to watch Anna and Joel take 5. I did this video already, and I loved the previous video I did. Not the video that it was like, you know, anything amazing, but the point of it is the actual clip was from back when. It was back when they first were doing the rounds with the piece, and the thing of it was that it was on a stage surrounded by a bunch of people, and it was just a really cool clip. The problem is it's such an older clip that the quality of the video itself is terrible, right? So it's to be expected with an older clip. I mean, you know, people weren't lugging around like, you know, awesome Android phones with amazing cameras and whatnot and stuff like that, and any other kind of phone. But the point is that nowadays, everyone's got a pretty good phone in their pocket now with a really great camera, you know what I'm saying? So nowadays, it's different. So you get way better clips, and I think we can all appreciate that. So I'm reacting to a updated version of this. Now, being that this is done in 2017, of course, this is like a throwback, a tribute maybe to the piece or honoring the piece or whatever. So with that said, I hope you guys who've never seen this enjoy this. And for those of you who have seen it before, then let's enjoy it again together. Let's go. Ow. Right away, just back movement, right? And of course, just because Joel's wearing all white, he's relatively covered, other than like his hands and maybe the back of his head. You know, naturally, just by sheer contrast, your eye is drawn to Anna, and because she has her back exposed, you can see all that delicious body movement. I love it. I cannot get enough of that. Just the way the movement's happening. You know, Joel's doing it too, don't get it twisted. Like, if you really watch him closely, he's doing it, but I just love that. Like, I love when people are really in there and just doing what they got to do with their bodies to really express feeling and not just making it about a pose and stuff, you know? So I love it. I can't get enough of it. Okay, so one thing really quickly about this. A long time ago, I attempted to get started a YouTube channel, and the name of the channel was called 6 7. I took it down because whatever. No, it was called 567, I think. 567. Shit, a long time ago. And I remember interviewing Sekou. We had like a long hour discussion, and I also interviewed Joel. Now I still have the clips, and I don't know, maybe for old time's sake, if anyone's interested, maybe I could re-upload them or whatever here. But I remember Joel sitting there explaining to me how this song is written in 5/4 timing, which is really unique. And most songs, for all of us who are familiar with it, with normal songs, are written in 4/4 timing. So because it was done in 5/4 timing, they had to modify the basic step. And Joel explained it to me musically because he's a bomb-ass musician. And he just kind of broke it down really simply. So I kind of got the gist of it. But they had to modify the basics. So to make this all work, they're not dancing typically on two or within that structure. So just to give another level of creativity for what's happening here, know that that's a thing, and know that they created technically a new dance, I suppose. Like that's the way you do a 5/4 basic now. What? Sorry about that. So you know what? The piece is classy. It's elegant. And one of the things that I'm noticing right now is you've got to keep in mind that if they've been truly, and again, I believe it's 2004, they were dancing before that, when the clip that I had seen that I'm referencing, that's 13 years ago. So they've been dancing 13 years later. So watching that one, yes, there's got a certain charm to it because it's still fresh. And there's that how can I put this? What's the word I'm looking for? There is that kind of youthful energy, that exuberance, if that's the word. Whereas now, you have some grown and sexy people up there dancing, just confident, having been on stage for all those years, having all that behind them, and now being more than ever assured of themselves, of who they are as individuals, who they are as dancers. They know the piece very well because they've probably done it 1,000 times, So it's really cool to see react to this one again now, because having seen the other one, it was cool, but it's just a different context. They were technically different people at the time, right? So you're seeing two different dancers do the same piece, and it's really cool to see them. They're so relaxed. This is what I mean. Like you kind of get that feeling that, yeah, man, it's crazy. And I'm very guilty of this too, but I am also personally pursuing another kind of thing. Like I love the snap, right? I made a mention on the channel before, and it's no secret. I absolutely adore Yamule. Like they're my favorite team ever. And because of that, like, man, when I see a song, I kind of like, the things that start flowing in my head is like, definitely inspired by that, right? I'm purposeful to make sure that my things are inspired and not copied, because it's important for me to find who I am as a choreographer, right? And that's a never-ending process. That being the case, going back and just watching this is so, what you could say, not in a bad way, it's simple, right? There's a saying a lot that I've heard over the years, when people are talking about development in essence, whether it's personal development or development of a skill. They're like, the process for developing a skill is simple, but it's not easy. And what means by that is that, like you have to put the effort in to make it look easy. And then like the process is super simple, right? Just do it over and over and over again. And then, but that's the grind. I wrote a blog about this on our old, it's still there. It's on our website, MMAdanceacademy.com, cheap plug. But I called it the unglamorous because that's the part that people don't see, right? Everyone is always like, oh, good dancer. I'm like, yeah, cool. But, I've done my basic, partly because I'm a teacher and I've had to do it a million times, but like legit, I've probably done like all my basics like over 1 million times, like literally over 1 million times. Not figuratively, I'm not just throwing that number out of my ass, but like, what does that mean? Like to you now as a person, like that step is in me. It's, you know what I mean? So as you grow and as you develop, like something that looks so easy. It's just simple because they're making it look simple. And yes, the movements aren't as complicated as stuff you see today, but there's also the quality of the movement that they're putting into it, so filling in those little spaces that we don't recognize. Look at her fighting every moment of that bit. It is different, actually, now that I'm looking at it a little sharper. They're giving a little bit more intention behind certain movements and giving it a different energy. I'm not going to say her name because she might get a little shy if she ever sees this, but a girl who's on my company right now, she is come up from the second team, and she's kind of technically understudying, but because of a lack of, available follows, she's kind of stepped into a role where it's more consistent for her. But I adore her. I think she's an amazing person, like a really quirky sense of humor. And she's sharing stuff because, we're in this current climate with, I can't say the word because YouTube will get mad, but pandemic, right? We're currently in that. And, a lot of people are posting videos of like little challenges and whatnot. And I could tell that she's growing and it's awesome. But there's also something that I personally see. And, I'm her coach, so I could probably, I hope she sees this because I want her to know. But right now, because I know where she's at, right? She's not as far along as myself or as them. And the movements all have the same energy, right? The movements are all kind of in that same flow. It's the same energy over and over, as opposed to knowing when to contrast something and intend something a little stronger and kind of pull back a little bit weaker, right? So as you become more experienced, you become more efficient with your movement, and you know when to hit something harder or hit something a little softer, right? So I'm seeing it now. Before, everything was much smoother, but now they're kind of giving a little bit more contrast and difference in the movement quality. That, for me, is like movement quality, right? Being able to show the shades of gray and not just be able to dance black or white, it's funny, the neck thing on her, I feel like sometimes it's very dangerous, especially if you don't have a long neck. It kind of cuts your head off and it makes you look like you're hunching. I know she's not, but it's an illusion that sometimes, like when I'm not catching, when I happen to be looking at Joelle, like lead something, and my peripheral sees her almost like this, but she's not when you look at her, But I'm always drawn back to her movement in the step, and Joelle's doing such a good job of being the frame and letting Anna be the picture, because I don't know, even by the choice of outfit, I feel like it's understated for him, right? He could have worn something maybe that can highlight more of him, but I don't know. I would love to have asked him, maybe if I ever get a chance to speak to him again, back when you did take 5, like, did you purposely wear all white? Because, when you're wearing all one color, it's hard to discern all the nuances, right? But when you have a little bit of contrast, you can see other things happening. So in Anna's case, she's got, the dress is, broken up a little bit. It's showing her skin. She's also got these black, armbands here. So there's a lot more opportunity for us to see things happening, just our eyes, Yeah, man, simple stuff, So maybe for an exercise for all of us, we go back and like choreograph something and try to like find a way to fill in spaces. One thing that I learned when I have been to New York to take class from Yamule is like, I mentioned the schools of thought before, like classically with what's going on right now, you really definitely have the Eddie school of thought, you have the Yamule school of thought. Of course, there's a lot of overlap, but there is, I feel like sometimes with the Eddie stuff, it can get a little busy sometimes. Definitely there's opportunities to be funky and stuff, but like, I don't see as much of a utilization of Corby shines. As much, when I'm thinking of the more Yamule-ish way of dancing. So a lot of times when I've been to their classes, they'll take those opportunities to put that 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, And when you do that, I don't know, man, you just naturally start finding the time, like, oh, okay, you start filling space in, and you start to learn about that skill, learn how to utilize this time. I'm sidetracking right now, but for some of my dancers, I've told them, some of you guys may or may not know this, but I have a degree in illustration, right? My original desire back when I was younger was to become a video game designer, right? To be the guy who does the animation for video games and like the character designs and all that stuff, because I was a huge comic book nerd. And I ended up moving to San Francisco and living there for 3 years. And I remember one of the things that we had to learn was animation. And I've always used this analogy because I think it's a really great way to think about it. So there is a keyframe artist and a fill-in artist. And the difference is a keyframe artist is the person who says, like, okay, here's our character that we're drawing, and here's one frame, and here's the last frame. And now you guys do all the drawings that are going to fill that space in, right? So I've told my dancers a lot of times, I said, look, I'm the keyframe artist, you're the fill-in artist. You got to fill that S in, you know what I mean? So because of that, like, it's a way to interpret body movement, and it's a way to just kind of think about it differently and just being able to fill that stuff in. So anyway, I'll get back to this. I could keep talking for an hour, clearly, but I want to get back to Anna and Joelle. I wish you guys could see the original clip, because at that moment that popped the crowd. Like, they were like, oh my God. And I made a mention in my previous reaction, like, a lot of times when you're watching something like this, the quiet is not like, oh my God, when is this over? I'm so bored. The quiet is like, wow, look at that. It's so beautiful. Like, it's so nice to look at, right? It's a different kind of quiet. So I remember in that original clip, they were on this badass stage where they were surrounded. I think it was like at a concert or something, right? But it was a concert in Boston, like probably was in downtown, some kind of outdoor festival, and they were on a stage that was surrounded by people. So it was like 360. And when they did that, you could hear the applause, right? And especially nowadays with people like Karen Ricardo, like he's spinning her on his fingertip and, lighting her on fire and throwing her through the air. And, like, we're so like, it's one of those things, how people's attention span is like nothing nowadays, like that of a penny. Things change, right? So as this came out, everyone was like, oh, she's in the air. And it's still elegant, it's still beautiful, but it's so, it's understated nowadays, right? It's a more classic lift. It's very simple, but it's perfect. It's on the music, and it does what it needs to do. And I remember mentioning that in the other video, and it's just, and don't get me wrong, for any way, shape, or form, I love Karen and Ricardo. I have to do one of them too, so that is in no way, shape, or form. I mean, they're the kindest, most amazing, like some of the most amazing people I've ever taken a workshop from or just seen and been interacting with. Like, they're amazing. So don't in any way, shape, or form take that as a slight. I'm just saying in regards to evolvement of style, right? So this is a simple thing, but it did the job, especially back when it was something more eye-catching, right? People hadn't been exposed to so much. And I think that's the issue. The more we get exposed, the more we see things over and over again, and we start being less impressed, because like, okay, what else you got? What else you got, So I think this is really, really pretty. It's a great thing to put in. All the little accents, right? You see all the little accents? It's very, in lieu of stepping it, there's like these movements, these little different ways, right? So a lesson for all of us is like, there's never just one way to interpret music. He does that a lot. Joelle does that little famous double spin. He's always real cool about it. He's got that little swaggy turn. He's like, it's nice and clean. It's always something. It's like a little signature of his in his choreos. Even something he did recently. I happened to watch something that was much more recent, and he did it back then too. And they've gotten on this kick where they'll do pieces that are very classy, like classic almost, in the sense that they appear very simple, but they're just dancing. They're just dancing. It almost looks like a social dance on stage, but it's clearly choreographed. And Joelle's real cool, swaggy double spin. I don't know why. It just always catches my eye. I'm like, oh, there it is, And I just love that they're kind of in that vibe where we're all taking down different paths. And I think they've taken the route of being very pure and very like classy with what they do. Yay! I think, I could be wrong, I remember the piece being shorter. I'm looking at the timestamp right now, and it's at 2:27 of 3:28. I think they might have added on, because clearly we can all cut the music, right, and just make it to our desired length. But if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. If anyone knows better, let me know. But I think they might have extended this piece a little bit. Go on, body movement. Again, look at the steps. They're super simple. It's all in the body right now. Watch this. Okay, here's the topic. I think I mentioned this before. I'm not sure the video is posted yet. I don't believe so. I probably asked the question too, so I'm going to ask it because this one's going to come out first. I know that for sure. I was reacting to something Frankie Martinez did, and I heard around the way, who knows whether this is true or not, that Frankie is of the opinion that if the song repeats itself, then you should repeat the steps because the song is repeated, right? So there's no reason to redesign the step because it's already been done, right? So as a dancer or as a choreographer, should you change the step? Should you reimagine the shine, right? So supposing you have some footwork that you've done to a section of a song and it matches perfectly, and then you do it on the opening of the song or near the beginning, and then it repeats later on, the same exact bit of music, like the same break. Like, should you change it, So I'm curious what you all think, because I believe that they're going back to what they did in the beginning. And I've talked a lot about this before. Sorry, I know I keep stopping, but there's so much little things that I admire. Her smile and his expression, it's just authentic, it's honest, it's real. I love it. Look at that smile. I'm almost positive this is extended. Again, real simple. And look at that dress, it's cool because it's just kind of flopping around all over the place. Hey! What do you all think? What do you all think about ladies? Whoever lady watches this. I've always been told, even from back in the day, I think even Sekou had mentioned this to me before, ladies always have to wear like nude color shoes, because if not, it makes their feet look blocky. So I've always had that in my head, right? And she's wearing black shoes, so it kind of makes her feet look heavier. That was probably the only thing I personally would have changed. I would have said, hey, Anna, do this piece in nude, see how it looks in like a more flesh neutral tone or whatever, to your skin tone, right? Of course. So what do you all think about that? So cool, so nice applause. So this appears to be a VT, like out of my own ignorance, I'm assuming that's Vermont. I can't imagine the scene is super huge out there right now. It doesn't, I don't know. I can't even name a city in Vermont, so I'm sorry for anyone in Vermont who sees this, but I don't imagine it's some big, massive event, so maybe they've not been exposed to this piece. I hope they enjoyed it because it deserves that attention, that admiration for what it did and just for what it is, Hey. Yeah, applause. They deserve it. Nice. That's actually the piece that I'm referring to, the thing that just popped up. So that is Anna and Joelle. That is Anna and Joelle's take 5. So for those of you who had never seen it, I really hope you enjoyed that. And maybe got some insight from my comments. Again, I've been in the game for a long time, so I clearly have some opinions on matters, which is the whole point of this reaction channel. Things that I admire, things that I like, things that I would maybe do different. And that's okay. We're all different human beings, and there's no right or wrong way to do things. It's just a matter of what we feel. So, to that point, guys, if you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out and also all of your YouTube creators. So make sure you do that for the other channels because there's a lot of people, for some reason, who watch videos and don't subscribe. Just subscribe. Do it. And then also like the video. That helps out a lot too. Let me know in the comments below if you would like to see any particular piece reacted to. I'm open to a lot of stuff. So just let me see any kind of dance performance that you want to see, and I will put it on my list because I definitely have a list of things I'm getting through. All right, so I'll catch you guys in the next one. Till then, peace.